Action!
Today, we're going to have a little lesson on Shakespearean tragedies. Trust me on this, you're going to want to take notes. The idea of a tragedy actually comes from the ancient Greeks, from a playwright called Aristotle. A tragedy, according to him, is a story in which the main character brings about his own downfall. This character suffers from something called hamartia, otherwise known as the tragic flaw. Now, the tragic flaw isn't that the guy was a bad guy or that he was evil. It was that he made mistakes or he was actually missing information. Because Shakespeare was gifted and fabulous and awesome, and maybe a little bit of a show-off, he wrote most of his plays in something called blank verse, which is known as unrhymed iambic pentameter. You all remember iambic pentameter, right? You have this small set of 2 syllables, one unstressed, one stressed, and because it's pentameter, you have 5 sets of those. So you have unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, all the way up until you have a total of 10 syllables. If this is familiar, you should think back to when we did sonnets, because all sonnets are written in rhymed iambic pentameter. Do you remember the first line of a sonnet? My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Remember, we clapped on the board and tapped on our desks and all that fun stuff. Sonnets and anything in iambic pentameter have a total of 10 syllables per line, which makes it very easy to read. Shakespeare did this because it is the closest meter to regular human speech. Just like regular fiction, a play is going to have characters and conflict, plot, setting, irony, foreshadowing, all of those really cool literary elements that English teachers love to make you memorize. However, there are some things that are different because it's a play. Here are some things that you are going to need to add to your repertoire of literary elements. These are some things you need to write down. First, an act is basically a large section or a part of a play. Scenes function as chapters in the play. Stage directions are the boss. The stage directions tell directors and readers what's happening on stage and which character goes where and who does what to whom. An aside is basically a private conversation that's held on stage. The idea is that the 2 characters who are talking to each other can only hear each other, and nobody else on stage can actually hear what they're saying. And then finally, you have a monologue, which is basically the character talking to him or herself. No, they're not crazy. It's a tool that allows you to hear what's going on in a character's head while they're on stage. And there you have it. The very first ever Doceri produced little bitty lecture by Mrs. Saunders. The end. Now go read.